Welcome everyone. This is Rucha Joshi, ILGC instructor and the founding faculty at Plaksha and the director for the Grand Challenges Scholars Program at Plaksha. It's my delight today to host a conversation with most popular Professor William Oakes from Purdue University, USA. Dr. Oakes is the Director for Engineering Projects in Community Service that he launched at Purdue with other founders, and we are here to talk to him about his interests and journey a little bit. He shares research interests in service learning in engineering education, impact of cognitive and non-cognitive variables on student persistence, and design in engineering education. Dr. Oakes, a very warm welcome to Plaksha.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. So, starting with, I'm really curious to know what was the inspiration behind EPICS at Purdue and how did you get involved?
So, and to clarify, so I got involved early, but I wasn't one of the founders. Ed Coyle, who's now at Georgia Tech, and Leah Jameson, who had been our Dean of Engineering, and is still at Purdue, were the ones that founded EPICS. And the original problem that they were trying to solve is how do we prepare students for industry? Is the feedback from industry where students are very good at calculating if you give them something constrained, but giving them an open-ended thing, working with others, it was a struggle. And so there was a group of faculty in electrical and computer engineering. They're saying, how could we do something better? The community project was actually an inspiration from a grant from the U.S. Department of Education looking at, could you make connections with community? Dr. Leah Jameson has described that as one of the times in her life she saw the light bulb go on. You know, those that said, this is the piece. And so that's how they started. And EPICS has still continued to prepare students for leadership in industry and other things. But the other thing that it does is it provides a tangible benefit to the community. And I got involved after they'd been going along for 3 years. And I'm a faculty member in the School of Engineering Education, but the department at that time was we would call freshman engineering or first year engineering. And they needed somebody from our department to look at, could we involve first year students in these projects? And so they needed a volunteer, and I volunteered, and it was one of the best decisions of my life. Partway into that semester, they asked me to be a co-director of the program, and so I've been part of the leadership for that. It changed my thinking on engineering education. And if I'm honest, I would say initially I was an EPICS skeptic because I came from industry and I thought the community projects, well, they're aspects, you know, if they're not really industry projects, they're not real. And what we found from observation, and actually we have research data that confirms these kinds of projects, because they're real projects involving real people and bringing teams together to solve them, you develop fundamental skills that are applicable if they work for an NGO or industry or government or any of those. So I still get to do what I wanted to do, prepare students for industry and these kinds of things, but we get to make a tangible difference in the lives of people in the communities on a daily basis, and that's a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So, having come to India for several inspirations to our engineers, how does, in your opinion, service learning help 21st century engineers in making?
You know, today all of our designs, all of the work that we do really needs to have a sustainability mindset. And sustainability not just from an environmental standpoint, or more broadly, the impact on people, especially in our democracies. One of the things that brings me back is that connection that when in a democracy, the leaders need to be aware of all of society. So service learning can prepare students for their profession, whether it's engineering or others. And it starts to give them an understanding of the broader society. So when we're making products or services or systems, do we disadvantage some people? And historically we've done that intentionally and unintentionally. And the world is moving beyond that to where we need to think of all people. We need to care for the environment. The stress on the planet, we need to figure out how we continue to increase our economic impact and opportunities for more people and reduce the impact that we're having. And that's a hard thing. And I think that service learning gives students that view, and puts them in situations where they have to develop solutions. So they start to see that everything's not just a textbook problem. It's complex, and if I make a decision here, it has impacts in other places. So it puts students in a situation that's going to prepare them for later. It also, I think in higher education, colleges and universities, we have so many resources. And there are people with needs out in our communities. In my country, in the US, here in India, globally. And if we channel some of those resources to make the lives different of the citizens around us, the ones that the economy is leaving behind, that benefits everybody. And we could do it in a way where education is improved. So it seems so easy, but I think we have an obligation to give back, but it's that value add win-win, that we can provide a better education experience. And if we do it right, not only do we have better professionals, but we have more informed citizens that are helping to elect our leaders, and maybe even some of them become some of these elected leaders.
I wish I could take your class back again and enjoy that educational experience, right?
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to the question, what is your favorite thing about teaching in EPICS?
Oh, I think without question, my favorite thing is getting to work with the young people, just in teaching in general. I think the young people that we have are inspiring to me. So the older I get, we're supposed to complain about young people. They don't listen, but if you take a step back, they're more connected globally than I think any time in human history. They have a sense of, they're Indian or American, but then they understand they're global citizens too, or there's a sense of that. They've got incredible tools, technology tools, and they're able to manipulate these tools, finding information. Now and there's a desire to do something that's going to make things better. I worry that we're not preparing them to maximize their potential, but working with them. Now, the service learning in EPICS, a close follow, is the people we get to work with in the community and the impact there. But those are the things that I enjoy, because in the service learning, you don't have to pick one or the other. You get to work with the students while making that impact.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. You've come a long way after joining the EPICS initiative and spreading it globally. So where do you see now the project-based learning going in 5 years from now, let's say?
I hope project-based learning becomes more accepted and the standard way we're teaching more. I'm really hoping that there are things, we all had to go through the pandemic, and we did things that we didn't think were possible with some of the online and those. Can we take those lessons and things that we could record, and use that for time that we can spend with the students with more high value add. So I hope that project-based learning becomes a larger fraction of what we teach. I also hope that the project-based learning evolves into community-based learning or community-engaged learning. And the difference there is when I do a project in a semester course, it stays there. But if I engage things that can go out into the community, but that requires us as faculty and students to get past mindsets that maybe this isn't one course, one semester. And what do I have to do to truly partner? And I think that in the portfolio of things we have, there are opportunities to do that. So that's where I hope. I really believe we're moving there. I know we're moving there much slower than I would like. But
yeah. So I think my next question is just related to that slower moving maybe. What are the challenges that you see students struggling with in service-based learning projects predominantly, if any, and any tips from you on how to resolve them?
Another great question. So I think the things that students struggle with, honestly, are our fault as educators. If I'm going to do real things in the community, there's not a single answer. And that complexity of I can't go to somebody that has the answer. I've got to figure that out myself. There's uncertainty when we're doing that, and students aren't comfortable with that. They want to, I've got an initial idea and let's go. It's like, well, that initial idea might be one that you evaluate, but how do I get more? We also haven't taught students, how do I design for others? How do I establish a relationship? How do I learn to take their perspective?
Okay.
We haven't taught those things.
Okay.
With the community, it's important. We've talked that too often when we do a community project, we do something for somebody. Sometimes we do things to people, which isn't good. But real community-based learning is doing things with them. So how do we partner with people and learn from them as they learn for us and together develop something? That's not what we've taught them in education, and honestly, that's not how our society necessarily works. That those are pieces. And I think the final thing that they struggle with, and again, I think this is our fault, is in school we might say, 90, 94%, something in there isn't excellent. You achieve that, you have the top grade. Later this evening, I fly back to the United States. And I've said, if the flight attendant said 94% of our plane's working fine, I would turn around and not get on that plane. So I think when you're doing real things for real people, it's almost done. That's not good enough. And these things, again, train them for what you're going to do later. That plane has to work 100%. Or it's 100% or zero. So I think, to summarize, I think the things that the students struggle with are things that we've not prepared them for. And so there are opportunities to put elements of that into education. And there's also opportunities for students to learn. So coming, even if they don't have that background, they can learn. But they need to understand that there are fundamental things that they learn, and we as faculty need to provide opportunities for them to develop these skills. None of these problems are not ones we can solve. They're also not easy, but it's often things that are challenging or hard are worthwhile, and this is the right kind of work to be doing.
Thank you so much, Professor Oakes. I think the vision and thoughts you shared is going to serve us for the rest of the years at least, and we hope to continue this conversation with you in the coming years as well.
I would be honored and look forward to other opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you so much again. Namaste.